Hello and welcome to The Exit presented by Flippa. I am your host here, Steve McGarry, and The Exit is a 30-minute podcast featuring amazing entrepreneurs who have been there and they have done it. They have started businesses with their bare hands from scratch. They've bought businesses and sold businesses. And some of the most exciting guests on this show that we have gone through the process of bootstrapping businesses, which is bringing us to this episode here. But before we dive into today's episode, I wanted to remind everybody that the previous episode with Cody Sanchez around the unconventional acquisition conversation is definitely worth a listen. So I will be leaving a link to that in the description, wherever you're listening, whether it's on Spotify, iTunes, or SoundCloud. Definitely check out that episode so that you guys can get some context for the launch episode of The Exit here. But for this episode, I sit down with Judd Armstrong. He's an incredible entrepreneur that sold his previous wireless headphone company, Jaybird, for $95 million to Logitech. Now, this is one of the bigger exits that's very exciting to have this in our initial launch series here. And Judd goes through some really powerful topics. He talks about the mindset required. Bootstrapping a business is very inspirational to listen to and very educational to hear some of the different processes that he set up. And while he was hiring, finding a business partner, all of these different really important concepts around building a business from scratch. So he's working on a new project now called the Unlisted Project. That's very exciting. He'll touch on that towards the end. And without further ado, let's dive right into my interview with Judd Armstrong of the Unlisted Project now and former founder and CEO of Jaybird. What is up, guys? I'm here with Judd Armstrong, the founder of Unlisted. How you doing, Judd?
G'day, Steve, mate. We have so much to talk about. This is going to be a great chat.
Yeah, I'm excited. I've done a lot of research on your background, but for everybody that's tuning in, I'd love for you to just kind of share your story, like what's led you up till now. And there's some really big gems that I wanted to touch on. You exited a company called Jaybird for $95 million. And I think that would be where I'd love to start. Like when did you start Jaybird and how did that transpire?
Yeah, well, I'm Australian born. I grew up down there in Australia and I had nothing to my name except this beautiful restored Holden Monaro, which for anyone in America, it's like the Chevy SS. It's like the old muscle car from the 70s. And this Monaro was like a baby blue color and it had houndstooth seats. It was like just gorgeous. And you could smell the 70s in it. It was just had that, that beautiful old 70s leather smell. And then I loved that car, but I loved my wife, Miriam, more than that. So I ended up selling that car so I could afford a wedding ring. And I went over to America because she was American and ended up putting that muscle car on her finger. We got married and we've been married for 20 years. It's been a great run, but she's been so supportive of everything that I've always wanted to do. I've always been a bit of a rogue kind of a entrepreneur like a lot of us are. I love your t-shirt, Steve. Bootstrapped. That's my life to a T. That's good. We had nothing to our name when we started. Like Jaybird, back in 2005, I was actually trading stocks and options at the time. And I went for a run one day with my silly iPod cable, flopping left and right as you're running. And I went back to my desk to look at the charts. And of course, I have this wireless keyboard and mouse, even back then, 15 years ago. Yet we didn't even have wireless headphones. So to me, I'm like, let's make this really cool side project, Jaybird, and make headphones go wireless. Surely the technology is there to do it. And of course, massive long journey. Anyone who's bootstrapped knows the sacrifices that you have to make. Like we sold our house. We had no furniture. We had one car between us with 4 kids. It was wild. But Les Brown says, if you want to get ahead, you got to be able to make the sacrifices today that other people won't make so that you can have the things tomorrow that other people won't have. And anyone who's in crypto, you kind of feel that, right? Like this is supposed to be the coin for the people. But it seems like a lot of people really struggle with trading. And that's where I came full circle back to trading after having done Jaybird. And we led that wireless headphone revolution. And we focused on really changing people's lives up and taking that very special moment of their day, that sacred moment where they get away from all of the noise and the hustle and bustle and go on their run or their gym workout and get liberated with wireless music for the first time. And of course, now it's everywhere. But that was a really exciting run. Got to sell to Logitech a few years ago. And since then, Steve, I've been farming, man. I had to decompress. It's so much work, bootstrapping a business like that. So I went and sat in a tractor for a few years and was trading Bitcoin at night. And that's how I came up with Unlisted.
That's awesome. Literally farming. That's
Yeah.
incredible. That's incredible. So how did the acquisition happen? So I personally I sold my previous company to one of the founders of PayPal, and it was because we were raising a round, and it just
Mm.
was the logical next step. It was like, we can raise a round and go for another 2-3 years, or just exit. What was the process like for you when you were going through with Logitech with the acquisition?
Yeah. So we had grown, we'd been profitable for 10 years straight, every single year, even though we were bootstrapped. We were somehow able to make it work. And because, if you're not making money without an investor, you're out of business. So you're forced to get very creative. And what's really fascinating is there's so many times where I thought I needed an investor, but there was actually a creative way through it. But I had to get to that precipice. I had to get to that stressful point where there was no way ahead unless I came up with something crazy. And it's amazing the partnerships you can create, how you can get by and bootstrap things. It's amazing. So, anyone who's in business for themselves, really, really encourage you to look for those creative avenues. Take yourself to the precipice, to that turning point, that critical point where you can find that avenue. And out of necessity, when you become unstoppable and you have to get through out of necessity, it's amazing what you can do. And you won't discover that part of yourself until you put yourself in that situation. But getting through those 10 years, making profits every year and then growing 50 to 100% year over year, we got up to be the third top premium headphone brand in the States alongside Beats and Bose, which was remarkable. First of the little guys, but it was cool. And to get to that point, and people saying, hey, why do you want to sell right now? Because everything's firing and everything's going so well. We had this incredible movement of customers who really got behind us. And that's how we were able to succeed, because we had a killer product and we didn't have a lot of marketing money, but the people spread the word because they loved it so much. And we had this really great roadmap as well, a lot of R&D that we were doing at the time. So when everyone's saying, why would you want to sell now? That's the time to sell, because you're the most attractive. And also it was to a point where I had 100 employees and it was a lot of work, and that's just beyond where I wanted to be. So to answer your question, Steve, I went out to an investment banking firm, Stiefel, and a great couple of people that helped us put together like 100-page proposal, and they sent it out to strategic investors and also to private equity investors. So we're talking about, hey, since we're a headphone company, when we went to Bose, Skull Candy, a whole bunch of like Plantronics, Jabra, Logitech, and also even Apple and Samsung. We were going all over the place. And then also private equity, who really want to buy businesses and flip them later on, of course. Nice. So that 100-page document goes out, and this is what they told me. They said, I was totally blown away by this. They said, no matter how many people you send that document out to, and no matter how good you are, you will only ever get a handful of offers back. And that's what happened. We got about 5 offers back. Jabra actually came back with a huge offer, but turns out they were just fishing. They weren't actually even serious. They were trying to get some information out of us, it was pretty crazy to see those kind of games being played. Yeah. But Logitech, straight shooters. Bracken Darrell, he's the CEO of Logitech. He's amazing, and really, really great company. Ended up partnering with them and doing the deal with them. It was crazy because at the time of that deal, I was actually trying to catch up on some taxes, because when you're bootstrapped, you have those struggles, right? And the IRS and the state, they were really trying to collect on some taxes, and it was really threatening to shut us down, actually, because we were struggling for cash. When you're growing at that pace, the business needs so much money. So we had these crazy convulsionary struggles as we were trying to do this deal. So it happened and it worked. So that was pretty remarkable.
That's incredible. All these pieces, kind of people trying to collect. You're talking to, investment bankers who are putting you in front of like these massive brands all whirling around. That is it's such a testament to mindset of being able to like zone certain things out and stay focused on what's in front of you. And that's bravo on that. Not not your average person could really focus after all those distractions and all those things jumping in your way. And
Yeah, well said. Well said. It was like every day through those 6 months, every day I'd meet with my controller and I'd be like, all right, we'd both be saying, okay, rolling up our sleeves. Okay, give it to us. What's next? What's the next big fight we got today?
What's the next fire? What's the next fire to put out?
Yeah.
So you touched on team, 100 people when the acquisition went through. What was it like growing to 100 people from, yourself having that moment, that aha moment? What was it like scaling to 100 people that led up to the acquisition?
Yeah. I really love teams of about 15.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you can really be kind of like a SWAT team. Small teams get a lot done. And when you get to be a big team, lots of people kind of just cruise, right? And so I think smaller teams are the best teams. Yeah. And the way that we ran the company was I had a small group of leaders, like operations leader, brand, sales, R&D, or engineering, things like that. And I would tell them, you are the CEO of your group and you run it the way that you want to run it. And every week we'll have a chat, or between that, anytime you want to chat, let's chat. So that was the way I was able to keep myself sane. And it's also good because it keeps the group small. It keeps them empowered and it keeps them really engaged. Like everyone wants to be able to have impact and have meaning to their day, to have some reason to get up in the morning. And when they finish their day, feel like they actually accomplished something really great. And they were actually able to put their own fingerprint on that. And with an organization run that way, I think that ran pretty well.
Nice. And when you were just getting started out, were you doing were you fulfilling on your own? Were you drop shipping? How was the process working for that?
Yeah, well, we outsourced our call center right up front. We outsourced our fulfillment right up front. But eventually all those things came back inside as we could afford to. And that actually became a big wheel for us for really driving that customer satisfaction. We had a situation where we actually had fulfillment right next door to our customer experience team. You could knock on the wall and they could knock back, right? So if someone didn't get a shipment, all they have to do is say, hey, just let me put you on hold. And they'd just go next door, find out what's going on. And then their replacement would be already on the way. Like that kind of service really blows people away in today's environment. And also our customer experience people were people who lived the lifestyle. They ran, they went to the gym, outdoor adventure, mountain biking, etc., things like that.
Mm-hmm. Nice. So shifting gears, it's perfect that you did the venture for Jaybird for 10 years, because I ask everybody this: if you, knowing what you know now, what would you tell yourself 10 years ago? What would you tell yourself to either do differently or just give in terms of advice? Back. It's a wide open question, but always up to you.
Yeah. Well, it takes belief to start, but it also takes belief to get it done. And I'd say surprisingly, one of the easiest things to do was to actually pioneer that shift in the world. One of the hardest things for me to do was to actually believe that I could do it, that I could actually do it now. So many of us are held back by the definition of what we've done in the past. And that's how I was. I was kind of like shy. I was very unsure of myself. I was unpolished. I had no experience. I had no credentials. So I was battling through all those uncertainties, still trying to forge ahead with this something in my heart that I felt like I had to do, but I still had to push through all of those belief sets that I was carrying, and I just had to wash them all away from myself to really come into who I really was and let that be discovered. Mm-hmm. So there is a lot to us that is yet to be discovered. We're not defined by our past, but rather a vision of our future. And if we can get to that place, then we can do a lot of great things. And if I could go back in time, I would tell myself to just get at it and believe even more.
Yeah. And I watched your interview. It was a really great video on your website, on the Unlisted website. And you talk about that kind of that drive, that feeling where, I can relate. I know a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs that are listening and watching this, they can relate to that feeling of you just have to have progress. You have to complete that mission. And no matter how many times you get kind of shoved down and whatnot, you just constantly feel the need to do it.
Mm.
And that really hit home with me. But if you could just kind of give us from a high level, just that snippet again from that interview that you have where you talk about that drive that entrepreneurs like yourself have.
Yeah. Yeah, well, the great Les Brown, he says that there's something special in all of us, and there's greatness in all of us, and he says that there's so much yet to be discovered about who we really are. It's evolving. And Denzel Washington, this quote really hit me hard when I heard it a while back. He said that itch that you have in your heart, that desire that just won't go away. He says that that's God's promise sent to you beforehand, that it's already yours. And it just hit my heart. And I'm like, you kidding me? That's what I've been feeling. And he defined that so well. There's just things that an entrepreneur feels that, it's your place in the universe to do this. And when you lock into that, when it becomes a point of necessity in your life, not just because of survival, that's definitely a factor, which like we talked about before, but also to fulfill that purpose and meaning in your life. We're here to do great things. And as an entrepreneur, we typically find those things more often. And, you tap into that level of inspiration. So many things in life are done by uninspired people in big corporations or whatever, just putting out whatever thing will turn money. But an entrepreneur is different. Where rather than an expert, we're a student. We're always studying our craft, always looking to expand our abilities and what's right and what's going to be good for people and making a difference in their lives. So when you can tap into all that and you're constantly focusing on it and you're passionate about it, you're going to tap into something very special, that inspiration that connects you to some intangible, unseen thing in the universe that actually delivers something to you. That the universe has a way of setting a price for its goods, and when you can make that sacrifice and make that work and put forward that price and pay the price, some great things will come your way, and it'll connect you to some I guess destinies that most other people won't put the effort into to achieve, and that's reserved only for you if you're willing to put the work in.
Yeah, love that. It's such a powerful statement. And it definitely, I can see how that North Star kind of idea and mindset can really, because just it's so simple to say believe in yourself, but in reality, a lot of people very much struggle with that. And I think that as long as you can have that drive and that kind of motivation, it'll really, really help in the long term, especially when you have, let's say, the IRS coming after you. You're doing almost $100 million acquisition. Like you kind of need that driver, to persevere. So
That's so true.
right now, you are starting a company called Unlisted. So let's dive into that a little bit. What is Unlisted?
Well, so I've always been passionate about helping people to become more free, and that manifested in Jaybird, liberating that music experience. Anytime I've had employees or a team working with me, I'm like, hey, you can also be an entrepreneur, or you can also why don't you, when the housing market was really great for flipping, turning houses and improving them and selling them, I'm like, you should look into that, or a stock market, or, do your own business, whatever it is. And so I've always been driven to help people get financially free, like the journey that I've been on. And so sitting in a tractor, decompressing from having, done this big consumer electronics brand and exited, and just thinking about what I could do next. Of course, trading Bitcoin and really finding some really special ways of trading Bitcoin. Here's the problem with trading is that most people are failing, right? Like 90% of people end up losing money because they're driven by either fear or greed and excitement or whatever it might be. And it's treated a bit like Vegas. So what I wanted to do is really cut down the trading to 12 trades a year. Can I do that? Where I have a method for people to use where it's just 12 trades a year or something like that, that's really low maintenance, more lifestyle friendly, and somehow identify where the bottoms are and where the tops are. And for the most part, we have really, I've developed this method that really works. It's the average win is 56%. The average loss is 6%. It's doubling money every 6 months in historical track record. We can't project the future or anything, but that's our track record, both in back testing and actual trading. So if you double money every 6 months, you take $5,000 and you double it every 6 months, you're going to get to $1 million in 4 years. It's insane the way that compounding growth works.
Mhm.
So myself and Morty, we got together a couple of years ago and started to work on this. And we've got an app now. The app is great. We have just over 400 people using the app now. We're only going to 1,000, so we're about halfway there. We want to keep our lifestyle. And as these account balances grow, we're going to be growing a fair bit of volume. So we want to make sure that the signals are still manageable down the road. And we're also adding automated trading in October of this year. So if you love trading crypto, then, and you're just so hands-on, then you could just take like $5,000, put it on this platform, and see how it compares to how you go. I almost guarantee that you'll see how easy it is, and you'll be like, man, I need to throw more money at that, and it'll probably outperform what you're doing yourself.
Yeah. I think trading's very, very difficult to time, and part of the reason why it's a lot of people, on Twitter and things like that are always claiming these huge returns is they're only doing a couple trades, but a lot of people just think that they're just day trading and like rapidly trading these things.
Yeah.
And it's often kind of misconstrued, especially when newcomers are coming into the space and seeing that's what everybody's doing. There's a lot of unfortunate losses that come right out of the gate there. But
yeah,
in
I've been through it myself. Like, 2017 was exciting, and I paid the price just like a lot of other people in 2018. And that through that pain and through that, when you see the incredible growth that you have, and then you see a lot of that disappear, you either give up, which a lot of people do. You either hodl, which is another form of giving up, or you double down and you work out what's going on. And what I found was that there's the big players, the market makers, they're the ones who are winning because they know the game plan that most traders follow. They know the symmetrical triangles, they know the wedges, they know the price patterns, they know the whatever it is indicator that you're using. And so they play that against you. And so it's really important that you can see through that and you have a game plan beyond that.
Nice. Well, that's all the questions I have for you. Rolling out the red carpet, where do you want people to go and learn more about Unlisted?
Yeah, unlisted.io. Go check out that website. It's got so much there. You can also Google some interviews that we've done, like this one, which is great. Thanks for having me on, Steve. It's excellent. Really, really love it. I think interviews are the greatest way to come across something like this, because you get to really see the person behind what's being offered, right? That's so important in crypto because there's a lot of crazy things out there that you got to be careful of. So hopefully everyone got a feel for my sincere intent and my credentials. It's good.
Once again, thank you so much, Judd, for coming on the show.
Thanks, Steve.